Indira Gandhi National Open University, I welcome you to this introductive lecture session. Today's topic is People Change Management. I am Subhashish Maji, professor in School of Engineering and Technology from Indira Gandhi National Open University. So, dear learners, today's topic is People Change Management. After listening to this video lecture, you will be able to understand impact of change. You will be able to know the congruence model. You will be able to explain the change management process model. You will be able to discuss the Atkar model. You will be able to appreciate the intervention strategy model, and finally we will discuss some very interesting case studies on the topic, that is change management. So, let us begin our discussion on the topic People Change Management. If we introduce any change in any organizations, there is resistance by the employees in that organizations, and today we will discuss the reasons for the resistance by the employees in the organizations while introducing a change in the organization. And we will also see how the management is involved in overcoming that resistance so that the necessary changes are incorporated in the organizations for betterment of the organization's goal. There are four distinct response pattern and transition behavior. Generally, we will discuss the two important parameters which are absolutely required for any change process, that is comfort with change and capacity for change. These two are very important aspects for incorporating any changes. Now, the condition 1, the low comfort with change and low capacity for change. Individuals with this response pattern are called overwhelmed. Their primary transition behavior is to withdraw from the fray and avoid new learning. This means that the employees who are having low capacity for change as well as low comfort with change, they will not be interested in taking part any changing process in the organization. Number 2, low comfort with change but high capacity for change. Individuals with this response are called entrenched. Their basic transition behavior involves tenaciously clinging to narrow learning that worked in the past but are of limited value in the new reality. The third condition, that is high comfort with change and low capacity for change. Employees of this response types are called beasers because they deceive themselves and others. Their transition behavior is aggressive and grounded in high drive and low substance. This means that they are having high comfort with change and low capacity for change. That means they do not have the skill, knowledge or technology for taking part in the changing process, but they are high comfort with change. So, they are not acceptable for any changing process. Fourth one, high comfort with change and high capacity for change. Such employees are the learner type. The primary transition behavior of the learner involves positively dealing with the change and learning new, more relevant skills. Now, whatever we have discussed, the same thing we are repeating with the help of these diagrams. So, you will see that in the horizontal directions we are depicting change, capacity for change, that starts with low and extreme is high. The vertical direction depicting comfort with change, again the employees may have low comfort with change as well as high comfort with change. Now, the employees which are having low capacity for change and low comfort with change, these employees are in the categories of overwhelmed. They will not take part in the changing process. But in the second category, we have discussed that high capacity for change but low comfort with change, they are in the categories of entrenched. In the past, they might have taken part in any changing process, but in the present situation, they are not capable of contributing the changing process. The third category, we have discussed that the employees will be having low capacity for change but high comfort with change. These are known as beasers. They will deceive themselves and the others. Initially, they will be very high attitude for taking part, but their capability is limited. But the fourth category we have discussed about high capacity for change and high comfort with change. They are the real players for taking part in the changing process. We are calling it learners. Resistance to change is a natural phenomenon. It is an inevitable response to any major change in any organization. They tend to defend the status quo, particularly if they feel that their security or status is in danger. Some may view change as a threat to power or control. Folger and Skarlicki claims that organizational change can generate skepticism and resistance in employees, making it sometimes difficult, even impossible, to implement organizational improvement. The reasons for resistance to change: loss of control, too much uncertainty, surprise, the cost of confusion, loss of faith, concern about competence, more work. They feel that if the change process is implemented, then the workload will be more. So they have the fear, and that creates the uncertainty. Ripple effect, that means their regular work will be affected due to the changing process. Past resentment and real threats. Ways in which people resist change: confusion, because if there is change in process introduced all of a sudden, then definitely there will be confusion among the employees. Immediate criticism, people may not like to accept the changing process. Denial, they straightforward deny. Malicious compliances, sabotage, easy agreement. Some employees will immediately agree with the change, but by heart they will not do. Deflection, silence, these are the ways in which people resist change. Managing resistance to change. Managing resistance to change is one of the most disconcerting and taxing tasks faced by the organization the world over. There are 4 practical steps that all managers can embark on to reduce dysfunctional anxieties and motivate constructive behavior. Otherwise, failed change efforts would be very costly. Cost includes decreased employee loyalty, lower probability of achieving corporate goals, a waste of money and resource, and difficulty in fixing the failed change effort. Convince people. The first and probably the most important step is to ensure that people understand emotionally, not intellectually, why they have to change. This is very important. First of all, we have to have some arrangement like discussions, brainstorming sessions, the seminars, workshops, so that people or employees who are participating for the change, they should be aware of the outcome of the change, how the changing process will be beneficial for them, as well as the organizations, it has to be win-win position for both the employees as well as the organization. Built in participation. A clear result from the research on change management is that employee participation increases individual ownership and excitement, and in turn decreases individual resistance to change. Recognize and reward desired new behavior. If the employees knows that if they take part in the changing process, then they will be rewarded in terms of monetary or other advantages. So, this is very important. If individuals see that new attitude and behavior are being rewarded, they are more likely to accept change and behave accordingly. Provide time and opportunity to disengage. Individuals often respond to strategic change with a sense of personal loss. They mostly mourn the passing of the old order before they become psychologically transition. By providing time, opportunity and setting for individuals to celebrate the past as well as to see the promise and opportunities in the future. The process of change. Now you have learned so far that change is the process of moving from the current state to the desired state of future. Making a change involves moving the workforce in organizations and its work culture in line with the strategy, structure, process and systems to achieve the desired state. That is our vision. Now, see the block diagram. It says that there is the existing situation, then change means transition. For implementing the change, that is the transition. After that, we will arrive as desired situation. That is our vision for change. Impact of change on individuals. Organizational change was first understood in terms of three-stage model, which explained how to initiate, manage and stabilize the change process. You may recall that there are three stages. Unfreezing, that is to create the motivation to change. Moving, experimentation and implementation, and refreezing, stabilizing the process. So, first of all, there should be awareness for the change, that is the unfreezing to create the motivation to change. After that, the changing process, we call it moving, experimentation and implementation. Finally, we will arrive the new domain, that is the change process. That is known as the refreezing, stabilizing the process. Now, successful change in three-step model: unfreezing, intervening, refreezing. This is the three-step model for successful change. A force field analysis technique was recommended to compare the forces pressing for and fostering change to the process, leading organizations to resist change and moving back to reintroduce past pattern. The hiring of change agents to facilitate the change process was also suggested. So, you see that when there is any changing process in any organizations, there are few employees who will take part in the changing process, and obviously there will be resistance from some other employees. So, two forces will be acting simultaneously. One is for the change, second one is the opposition, that is the resistance of change. Now, look at this diagram. So, this is the driving and restraining forces. So, this is the force field diagram. Now, you see that there is a driving force. Driving force means in favor of the change. So, some employees will be interested for taking part in the changing process. But I have already discussed in detail that if there is a change introduced any organization, there will be resistance by the employees, and the force applied by those employees who are applying resistance, that force is known as the restraining force. Obviously, if the driving force is more than the restraining force, then the changing process will occur. But what will happen for the equilibrium position in which the magnitude of the driving force is equal in the magnitude of the restraining force, but these forces are acting in opposite directions. So, if the two forces in equilibrium condition are equal, then there will be no change in the organizations. But if we want to change in the organizations, the managers or leaders or the organizers should see that driving force should be greater than the restraining force in order to implement the change in the organization. Now we will discuss the 4 model, but you will see that for the 4 model, the basic theme is same. First of all, there will be awareness for the people who will participate, there will be discussions, there will be group discussions, there will be seminar, workshops, brainstorming session, then they will find that what are the ways for implementing the change. After that, the implementation and experimentation, then means the change process to establish in that organization. But these models, the actions are different. So, we will start with the first model, that is the congruence model. According to the congruence model developed by Nadler and Tussum in 1992, change has both hardware and software tools for building organization architecture. Look at this diagram. At the middle you will find a box, and in that box the people, formal organization, culture and critical task, these are there. So, for changing process, all these 4 important aspects are very, very important. The people means the employees, those who are in the organizations along with the higher authorities. So, even they are extremely in favor of changing process, but the other factors are not supporting, like culture, formal organizations and critical task, workflows, then definitely there will be difficult to implement the changing process, change in the organization. Now, the people means the human resource capabilities, competencies. The formal organizations means strategic grouping. We have to group in such a way with the people that right persons are there in a group for the right job. Formal linking, rewards, information systems, human resource management system and career system, these are all related to formal organizations. Whenever you think of culture, that relates to norms, values, ethics, morals, communication network, informal rules and informal power. When you think of the critical task, that relates to component task, workflows, processes, then leadership plays a very important role to implement the change that comprises of competencies, demography and group process, and obviously the strategic choices are also extremely important, that is strategy, objectives and vision. Now, as we have discussed that for this model it comprises both hardware tools and the software tools. What are the hardware tools? Like organizational structure, system, rewards, work process and flows. What are the software tools? The workforce capabilities, work culture and work norms, social networks, characteristics and competencies of the senior team. A manager has to align both hardware and software tools of change to understand the reasons of performance gaps in the changed environment. Now we will discuss about the next model. As I told you that for the preparation of the change process in any organizations are a set of activities, and the set of activities means they will make the plan starting from the awareness to the people who will take part in the changing process. After that, they will see what are the theory or plans or what are the actions to be taken in order to incorporate the change, and how do we go for applying for the changing process, and what will be the outcome, then what will be the feedback after implementing the changing process in the organizations, how the people are affected, how the organizations is affected. Now see, look at these diagrams, you see that this is the process, we call it change management process. Now you see, number one, establish the need to change. For this we have to arrange the seminar, workshops, discussions, brainstorming process for the awareness of the people why this change is required for the organizations. For completing these activities, it needs 1 to 2 months. Second one is develop and disseminate a vision of the change. Diagnose, analyze the current situation. To implement these two activities, it takes 4 to 6 months, because it is not that simple that you just tell the process for changing process in the organizations and next day it will be done. It is not a magical thing. It is a systematic process which is to be conducted scientifically. So for 2 and 3 activities it takes 4 to 6 months. The fourth one is generate recommendation. Number 5 is detailed recommendation. For completing these 2 activities it takes 4 to 6 months. Now number 6 is pilot test recommendation. Number 7 is prepare recommendation for rollout. Number 8 is rollout of change, and number 9 is very important, that is measure, reinforce and refine change. So once the change is established, we have to reinforce it so that the people should not go back to their old habit for maintaining the same status quo. Now look at this diagram. There is a minimum and maximum time is given for all sets of activities. So for example, the activity 1 it takes 1 to 2 months, for the next 2 and 3 it takes 4 to 6 months. So you see that for completing all the activities there is a minimum time that comes out to be 13 months, and for maximum time it takes 20 months. So for completing this change management process, the time requirement may be 13 months to 20 months as per the organization change. It is not a fixed time. So change management process, what we have discussed, that note that 1 to 5 indicate primary strategic change, whereas 6 to 9 indicate primary grassroots change. The duration, what we have discussed with the diagram, shown for each stage, and the cumulative time of 13 to 20 months for all stages varies depending on the scope and complexity of the change effort. Now we shall move on a very important model that is known as Adhkar model. The Adhkar, A for awareness, D for desire, K for knowledge, A for ability and R for reinforcement. Now as I already told you that for all the model, the change process is same, but the activities are different for different model. But for the basic theme is almost same for all the model. First there has to be some awareness that people should know what for this change is required for the organization. After that we have to motivate the people so that they can take part in the changing process. Now next is what are the strategies or plan of actions to be carried out for implementing the change. After that the change process will occur, then reinforcement, means once the change is already established, we have to stick to the changed process, so that the people should not go back to their old habits and maintain the same status quo. Now we will discuss the Adhkar model. A for awareness, D for desire, K for knowledge, A for ability, and R for reinforcement. First of all, identify gaps in the change management process and provide effective training to the employees, because for changing process some special skills are required. Say for example, if you implement the modern information and communication technologies, for which they require some knowledge of basic computer. So that training has to be given to the employees, otherwise the changing process will not be implemented easily, because the employees has to be trained and so that we can get the skilled employees, so that they can easily take part in the changing process. The model assumes that to make change successful, it should occur simultaneously both in the business and people dimensions. This diagram is for the Adhkar model of change. So you see that Adhkar, A for awareness, D for desire, K for knowledge, again A for ability, and R for reinforcement. So awareness means people must know what for we are going for the change. Desire, that means they have to have the desire for taking part in the changing process, then knowledge is required, ability and reinforcement I have already explained. Adhkar model is used to achieve the following objectives like desire employee resistance, help employee transition through the change process, create a successful plan for personal and professional advancement during change, and develop a change management plan for the employee. Now we will discuss the last model, that is intervention strategy model. In short, we will say ISM. This is a very interesting models, and elaborately they explained how we can incorporate the change even if it is a messy situation. Now we will see how it has been done. For different activities, different stages are there. For this, different phases are there and different stages are there for this model. Intervention strategy model provides strategies to deal effectively with messy change situation through the application of system thinking. From the perspective of managing change, a system may be defined as being an organized assembly of components which are related in such a way that the behavior of any individual component will influence the overall status of the change. So for example, if you think of any system which is composed of several subsystems, if there is any deviations for the output of any subsystems, that will affect the next subsystems. Take any examples, you will get the clear picture for this. Now, for this diagrams, it comprises of several phases like definition phase, evolution phase and implementation phase, and there are several stages for each phases. So, we will discuss about each phases as well as the stages in that particular phase in detail. Now, see the problem initialization. The change situation is identified and accordingly the process of managing the change is commenced. It is done in 3 phases and each phase has several stages. So, you look at the figure that there are definition phases, there are evolution phases, there are implementation phases, and all these phases are having several stages of operations which are to be carried out for incorporating the change in the organization. So, we will discuss all these phases along with the stages related to that particular phases. Now, phase 1 we call it definition phase. An in-depth specification and study of the change situation from both historical and futuristic viewpoint is made in the following sequence. Stage 1, problem system specification. Management conducts meeting and interviews to gather accurate picture of the present system and the likely impact of the change. So, this I have expressed in our earlier discussions that awareness is very important. So, in this case whatever we call it the Adkar model awareness, this is done in stage 1 in phase 1 called it definition phase. Stage 2, formulation of success criteria. The success criteria associated with a particular change situation may be defined in two ways. The first and foremost common criterion involves setting of objectives and constants. The second is merely a continuation of first, in that it generates options or paths which are tagged on to the original objectives. So, in even for this today's discussion I have introduced some sets of objectives, the learning objectives, that after completing this lecture sessions you will be able to explain different models and all. So, the same kind of objectives we have to establish for any change process in stage 2 for the definition phase. Stage 3, identification of performance measure. Having decided the objectives, appropriate measures are formulated. Phase 2, we call it evaluation phase. The definition phase highlights the key players in the change process be involved in the generation of potential solution of the problem. Stage 4, that is generation of options or solutions. A wide range of techniques is available to the problem owners which assist in option generations. Groups and teams should be involved to operate effectively. Stage 5, that selection of appropriate evaluation techniques and option editing. Once you highlight the several options to achieve the goal, ultimately you have to choose the best one by having 5-point Likert scales, that what are the maximum points are getting for a particular option which is to be ultimately implemented for the changing process. Having identified the potential options and solutions, screening of options is necessary. A brief comparative study of the 5 points and the predetermined success criteria acts as screening device. Stage 6 is option evaluation. Options are evaluated against the previously determined change objectives, in particular the performance measures identified in stages. Stage 7, development of implementation strategies. In this stage, the findings are packaged into a coherent whole and the changes are introduced in the system. Essentially, 3 basic implementation strategies like pilot studies, parallel running and Big Bang are used. So, initially for implementing any changes you have to start with pilot studies, then parallel running and then the organization wise. Stage 8 is consolidation. Since old practices do not die easily, problems owners need to nurture the growth of any practices. Implementation is not the end of the process. Lessons learned must be openly discussed and communicated. Change agents must encourage employees to accept the new development in an organization. Finally, the environmental development feedback loop linking the final outcome with that of the initial situation indicates that the change cycle is never complete. Dynamic environmental factors over a period of time will again necessitate additional change, and so the process will commence again. So, changing process is ever ending, it will continue. It is a continuous process. In management term we call it Kaizen. So, any improvement is a continuous process and we call it the change is the only constant in the organization. It will always be there for the growth of the organization. So now we will briefly discuss some important case studies. Now the Netflix, now it has become very popular. In 1997, the gargantuan media services provider Netflix was born. Previously, the model offered customers monthly subscriptions to have movies posted to their doors. It is just like a cassette supplier, just like cassette suppliers to the doorsteps of the people. And the Netflix, what they used to do, that initially they used to supply the cassettes to the doorsteps to the customers. Then Netflix successfully implemented change management to meet the needs of the customers that would begin to watch content online. Now the cassettes were provided for see the movies for the customers, but the customers have to wait for any new movie to come in the cassettes. So, but Netflix, what they have done, because they have applied the change management process for streaming of movies through online, and they now they are the one of the leading service providers for the media productions. So after surviving a drop in subscriptions numbers and stock figures, Netflix subscribers grew from 23 million in 2011 to more than 137 million in 2018. So they realized that as per the demand of the customer, what they need. The customer needs to watch the new movies, so they are the first player to introduce the channel for streaming the new movies. So there is no need of providing the cassettes, or if there is a delay for returning the cassette, there will be fine. So all these things will be over if they when they introduced a new channel in the television, so that the customers can watch movie online immediately. Nokia, this is one of the best example. Now you see that in 2007 you will find that the most of the persons will be having Nokia set, and because that Nokia mobile set was the best set among the sets which are available in the market, and you will be surprised to know that 40% of the market share was there for the Nokia company. But 5 years later, the Finnish organization was almost finished. Why we call it Finnish organization? Because this company is from Finland. What happened? The reason behind this is that the Nokia was very happy because they were having 40% of the market share, and there was the leading company for supplying for selling the Nokia, that mobile set. Now what happened after 5 years, in 2012 there was a massive improvement for the smartphone. Through the smartphone you can operate you can operate the things the way you are operating through your mini computer or this laptop. So through the mobile phone you can buy a ticket, you can book a hotel anywhere in the world, you can purchase the tickets, air tickets, rail tickets, everything. So Nokia missed that opportunity, and in 2012 Nokia company suffered a big loss around $2 billion, around 14,000 crores of rupees, and the company was lost the market because nobody was purchasing the old set. They were all the customers were interested only to purchase the smartphone. Now Nokia appointed a CEO, that is the management gurus for the survival of their company. The new CEO has analyzed the situation, and he said that the management of Nokia, that you have lost the opportunity. Now the other companies have moved much ahead in the field of smartphone. Now you cannot catch them. So what you have to do, you have to shift your business from the mobile set to the networking and mapping, the infrastructure, the modern communication technologies, you can switch over the business. So they shifted their business from hardware to software for networking and mapping business, and they have sold out their device manufacturing divisions to Microsoft, and now they are leading company for the networking and mapping in the world. So Nokia now also purchased the Siemens and then Alcatel-Lucent. Nokia's emerging transformation from a borderline bankrupt hardware manufacturing to leading technology players shows how major organizations can respond to serious disruptions by transforming themselves. So change management is very important for survival for any organizations, because through change management process only they can be with the people or the customers what they want. So next is British Airways. This is also one of the most important case studies, that is in 1981 the British Airways appointed a new chairperson, John King, early on. It was noticed that the company was extremely inefficient and lot of valuable resources were being wasted, and there were a lot of losses incurred for British Airways company. Now John King, he analyzed for the survival of the British Airways, and he noticed that there are a lot of wastage of resources are there for that company. So he immediately stopped the unwanted routes, because some routes or airlines routes were not getting any profit for that particular routes, and he stopped, and he also cut down the manpower for that British Airways, and he introduced a new for purchasing new aircraft so that the customers will be happy, and to help the organizations become more profitable, the chairperson decided to restructure the entire business. He decided that the most efficient way to do this was through a change management plan, and one leader who was working in the British Airways, he said Lord King transformed the airline from a position of state-owned weakness to one of the financial strength and global renown as a pioneer privatized carrier. So dear learners, you have understood what is the change process and why the change process is required even for a company which is running in the present situation. So let us quickly summarize our discussions. We have discussed the impact of change, we have discussed the congruence model, we have discussed the change management process model, we have discussed the most important model like Adhkar model and the intervention strategy model, and we have also finally discussed some important case studies. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can put in through my mail or WhatsApp number. So I will love to answer those questions. Thank you very much.